Good morning, everybody. Today's topic is what we have learned during the pandemic. And I'd like to summarize everything we've learned in hopefully under 15 minutes. A lot of stuff that we have come across, many of which are lessons that perhaps we already knew, but now we're learning them all over again. They're becoming crucial to our lives. The first lesson being that we are fragile creatures. We are not all powerful. Our bodies can break down suddenly. We can get sick without notice. We can pass away quicker than we could ever expect. And it's not just us that are fragile. Our supply chains are fragile. Our toilet paper, our beef, our coins. Almost every week there's something that we're running out of because we rely on an international chain of delivery. So we have felt more fragile during this time. We have looked for something to encourage us. And while we've been doing this, hopefully we've been looking at our lives and deciding that we will never again take anything for granted. For example, that we got up this morning. Not everybody woke up this morning. But if you're watching this, you got up this morning. Congratulations. It's something to thank God for because it's a tiny miracle that we have every day that we awake. In Africa, everything seems to go wrong all the time, and all the people in Africa rejoice if anything at all goes right. And I think more and more we're learning to become like that, and to become grateful for even the little things. Earlier today, I had planned to play volleyball. I'd gone to my friend's house. It started to pour rain, and I thought, wow, we're not going to get these games in. So we gathered together in the little pool house that he had and made some coffee, spent time together, listened to the rain, watched the rain falling in the pool, and I realized this is a great moment. I'm enjoying my day. I don't need the volleyball to make my day good. Which brings me to the next point. It is one of Paul's most famous scriptures. I've learned to be satisfied with what I have. I know what it is to be in need and what it is to have more than enough. I've learned this secret, so anywhere, at any time, I'm content, whether full or hungry, whether I have too much or too little. And we have been learning how little we actually need. Learning how many things we wanted and didn't end up getting, and yet we're still able to find our way to contentment. While we are fragile creatures, we are also resilient. And we've been seeing this time and time again, and perhaps the better word for this is perseverance. If we were asked in January, how would you feel if, let's say in a few months, all the stores were closed, schools were closed, churches are closed, you had to wear a mask when you went everywhere, you wouldn't be able to see your relatives or your friends, there'd be no traveling, and you probably would have a hard time finding supplies. How would you feel? Ask us that in January and we'll tell you that we're going to feel horrible. How can this possibly be? Daniel Gilbert, who writes the book Stumbling on Happiness, says that we're terrible predictors of how we might feel should something happen. In other words, if we're told a bad thing is going to happen, we predict that we're going to feel terrible. If we're told a good thing is going to happen, we're told that we begin to think that we're going to feel amazing. Perhaps the best example I can give you is my friend who got an 82-inch TV, which is just way too big, and was happy for maybe a week before it arrived and started to complain as soon as it did arrive. Well, the opposite's also true. Bad things may happen to us, but we're resilient, we persevere, we're able to take more than we thought we'd be able to take. And Paul says that there is a secret, and the secret is this. He writes, I can face all things. I can endure all conditions. I have the strength by the power that Christ gives me. The two things I'd like to highlight about that. First, the phrase, I can. I can. Now, on Sunday morning, I'm going to look out over the congregation and I'm going to say, say it with me, I can, but we only got one person here, so Jack, say it with me, I can. Feels good, right? Can face all conditions, the second part, through Christ who gives me that power. that we persevere not on our own power, but because there is someone always on our side. And this leads to the next point. We're more adaptable than we thought we were. We're able to accept change because it's been nothing but change. We're able to accept uncertainty because it's been nothing but uncertainty. Before this, the most uncertain things were, if you travel to the end of the stars, what's there? Is it more stars? Is there an end to the stars? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Why do they call a parkway and a driveway when you drive in a parkway and park in a driveway? We didn't know. But these questions did keep us awake at night. Now we're learning that we're able to live with much bigger questions than these. We don't know what the next day will bring, the next month will bring, the next year will bring, and yet we're able to keep going again through the power of Christ, who gives us this strength. There is consistency knowing that God exists. Now, I drew a picture on Wednesday. I'm not going to draw the picture for you because it's just as easy to show you two circles. Imagine a big circle and a little circle. And if I were to ask you which one is happiness and which one is joy, what would you say? Jack, what would you say?
I would say the smaller circle is joy and the bigger circle is happiness.
Well, that is a very good answer, Jack. In fact, there is no wrong answer to this. But one way to look at happiness and joy in terms of a circle is that joy is bigger than happiness. But another way, and this is what I share with you, is to say, if we look at the big circle as happiness and the little circle as joy, then you can scrub out all of the stuff in the big circle, but that little core remains, the core of joy that is ours through Christ. And this is why when Paul writes, "Rejoice in the Lord always," again I say rejoice, we realize that we can be joyful even when we're not happy. I'll repeat that. We can be joyful even when we're not happy. Because our current conditions may be horrible, but our eternal conditions are blessed. This next section I like to call Humans of Earth. Humans of Earth. I address you now from this pulpit. We have learned that we are more alike than different because people around the world are going through the same things, feeling the same anxiety, feeling the same fear, feeling the same hope, but not sure if they can feel this hope or if it's even reasonable. Because everyone on earth wants something to believe in. This crisis has been a magnifying glass. It's my personal theory that people who were not very kind have become even less kind during the crisis. People who were kind have become even more kind and have reached out in incredible ways. But it's been a magnifying glass for society as well, as we have seen pretty much everything exposed, everything that is wrong, laid out bare for us to see. The disparity between rich and poor. The racism and sexism that is rampant in the entire globe. We have seen stories that have made us realize that there is something that needs to be fixed in almost every arena. You may have read a story this week about how wealthy people are not at all worried about sending their kids back to schools because they're buying what are called school pods, which are small places where they can hire their own private teacher. And obviously this is something that most people can't do. But it shows us how hard it is to address society when you need the more wealthy people to vote, but they're not compelled to vote because they're doing all right. They're doing all right because they have money. And it's going to be a tough week for a lot of Americans as that $600 a week may be running out, and people will be required to make incredibly difficult decisions. This is why I think it is time for us to look at other countries and to learn from them. And it doesn't matter if we like the country, don't like the country, respect them or don't respect them. If they're doing something right, let's learn from them. We are connected in ways that we never imagined. And because we are connected in ways we never imagined, we are able to, if we choose, to work together to solve all of these problems. One of the signs of hope, and this is across the entire globe, is that we have begun to value the undervalued more than we ever have before. To realize that as we're trying to change things, there are people who have been neglected, people whose rights have been ignored. And these are the sort of people that we are now reaching out to, hoping to help. And as we hope to help them, it's not just a handout that helps, but it's an entire restructuring of the society in which we live. And this is going to take time, and this is going to take energy. But this is one of those things that we can do, because we can do all things through the power of Christ, who strengthens us. And this leads us to our concluding points. You've seen time and time again in the news that pretty much anything can be made to be political. From masks, to opening schools, to sports. But here in the church, we'd like to say that anything can be made spiritual, and recommend that if we make everything spiritual, we'll be able to back off all of these negative emotions and be able to concentrate on what is good and true and pure and right. And when we do this, then we're able to remember the value of what Paul writes in the book of Philippians. And here are his words. Whatever is true and noble, whatever is admirable and right, whatever is pure and lovely, whatever is excellent and praiseworthy, think about these things, and the God of peace will be with you. When we set our minds to the goodness of life, to the goodness of other people, to the goodness and the presence of God, when we concentrate on all the people that are working together to try to fix these things that are wrong in our world, when we remember that there is plenty worth praising around us, that's when we'll feel that inner peace. And our inner peace can radiate through us, and perhaps even to the entire world. The last point I'd like to make is the first thing the church has learned. We are not just buildings. We are a church, whether we're in church or at home. We're a church because we believe in the same things. We're a church because we support each other and care for each other. We're a church because we want to improve our communities. And the same is true of any religion. A church is not just a building, neither is a synagogue, neither is a mosque. And I believe that if we do return to human kindness and community outreach, we will honor the name of Christ in a way that has not been honored for many, many years. Because this will be a light that everyone will see. Because who will criticize us if all we do is care for people, are kind to people, and help those around us? As the scripture says, there is no law against such things as these. And so I wish you all of the gifts of the Spirit as we move forward in faith together at home and in our sanctuary. May love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control be upon you now and remain with you always. Amen.